Hey everybody, welcome to the Revolution Podcast with Smitty and D, streaming from my boudoir.
Yep.
We are going to be talking about the episode The Plague Dog, which is episode 4.
Yep, Plague Dog.
Spoiler alerts aware, we will be doing a recap of the show while also commentating about the show along the way. So,
of course,
if you guys have not seen the show, you might want to turn off now, go watch the show before you listen to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into The Revolution, episode 4, The Plague Dogs. All right, so it starts with Charlie is running from an unknown assailant. All right, we got this guy running through the forest, don't know what's going on. He ends up catching up to her, knocking her down, and we can see he's wearing some a uniform, so he's got to be Monroe militia or whatnot.
Sure.
We're thinking we don't know what's going on, but then we find out it's kind of a trap because Miles comes and knocks the guy out.
As Miles does.
I won't say knock him out, knocks him down.
Mm-hmm.
And then proceeds to question the guy about does he know who Captain Tom Neville is? And obviously he says he does. And we find out that Tom was there just yesterday and that he is on his way to, was it Knowlesville? Do you remember what it's called?
Yeah, that sounds
Noblesville?
right. Mm-hmm. Noble, yeah.
Noblesville. So they're right on the tail. So you can see like Charlie's kind of excited, like, oh shit, we're close. We're not far from him.
Yeah, it's definitely getting a little tight, a little closer to an actual meeting up with Tom
and Danny
and the whole,
and
the whole cavalcade or whatever.
Exactly. It's going to be crazy. Miles then knocks out the assailant. We never find out who he really is, but he's just unknown assailant. He's a red shirt.
One.
He's a red shirt one. Miles knocks him out, and then Miles, Charlie, and Nora. Charlie pushes Miles about his history with what he's done with the militia, what he's been a part of,
right.
why he left the family, until basically he just explodes and is like, you know what, bitch, stop it. I ain't talking to you no more.
What stories does that guy know about you? You look like he was about to wet himself.
Come on, I told you it was none of your business, all right?
Look, and normally I'd agree. Except every person that we meet wants to capture you, kill us for knowing you, or they're flat out terrified of you.
Listen, Charlie.
We are so close to catching up to Danny by what, tomorrow? And I don't even know who I'm walking with or what I'm walking into.
Damn it, Charlie, shut up! Let it go. I don't owe you an explanation. I owe you nothing. All right? You want your brother back? Drop it. I swear to you. I'm out of here. You can find him yourself.
Yeah, and this guy that plays him, I forget what his name is, the actor's name.
Oh, but you're talking about Miles.
He always seems to kind of do this where he has like kind of a cadence to his the way he, I guess, says the dialogue. He'll always kind of have this like, "Hey,
almost haiku-ish, like 2 syllables, 15 syllables, 1 syllable.
Yeah, and he always kind of has to have this, like, I'm kind of just fed up. Like, the only reason I'm telling you this is because I can't just give you a look of, this is my fed up look.
Yeah.
Deal with it. It's almost like,
That's like you sound like a Muppet. Manamana,
that's what I think he kind of does. He's like kind of like a Muppet in the sense of he always has this like the way he says things, and
when he walks, does he like flail his arm too?
Yep.
You can't see me, but my arms are flailing in the sky.
He always seems to introduce Elton John for some reason.
All right, so we'll move on to the next scene. After that one, which we go to Lowell, Indiana, where we find
they told Aaron and Maggie to meet him up in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the meeting place. Aaron and Maggie are there, and they have a discussion about being late, about Miles and Charlie's being late when we have a flashback for Maggie, and Maggie is having a video call. She's in Seattle, and she's talking to her kids who are with the nanny in England, London, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so her kids are with Mary Poppins.
Pretty much.
She's over here in Seattle. They're having a little Skype conversation saying, like, yo, what's up? Read me Wizard of Oz. And she's like, do you know what kind of minutes I have?
Yeah.
I'm going to be spending a lot on Skype.
Well, speaking of that for a minute, like, how heartbreaking was it? Because she basically is like, no, I got to go do things. So she has something on. She's getting dressed for a party or whatnot.
Yeah, right.
So her last conversation with her kids is like, no, I'm not going to read that story because I got to go. I got to go out. I'm busy tonight. She was being genuine about it. You're like, oh, that's kind of heartbreaking. I can understand why that would hit your heartstrings a little tougher.
That's the way they always have to play it, is because you've seen it countless times, and in reality, it's been that way ever since too, where, you know, you always look back at, in retrospect of, you know, your last conversation with certain loved ones, things like that, and you're always like, man, I talked about the stupid wieners not being hot enough, or, you know, I bitched to him about not mowing the lawn when I should have told him I loved him or whatever. And you never know.
Hindsight's always 20/20. You know?
Yeah.
It was definitely an event where you could see, like, I can understand why that would upset her.
Yeah, of course, but, because she's telling him, like, go to bed, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
when
then,
she's like, I wish I did do that.
Yeah, and then the blackout hits, which is kind of another cool view of it, where you see all of Seattle, it just goes black.
Yep.
You just see the needle,
and it's
just
not
dark.
as much like of the pandemonium as Chicago saw.
Well. We only saw the blackout just happen.
It's
At least
true,
Chicago, we saw them walk through the
but
streets.
you weren't seeing like airplanes falling out of the sky again.
True,
or
that's
anything
true.
Like that.
That's a good point. We didn't see any planes.
So apparently, there's not much air traffic in Seattle.
Maybe there wasn't a lot of air traffic over Seattle at that time.
I just would have liked to have seen the Space Needle just randomly fall over.
For what reason?
I don't know.
Lights go out. Oh, no power. That was holding up the needle.
Don't you know cement is mixed with electricity?
All right, so moving on to the next scene, which is we flash back to today, back to where we just were, and they're discussing if they should tell Charlie, Nora, and Miles about the power pendant.
Right.
Now, I can understand not wanting to tell
everybody.
Well, maybe because they don't know Nora yet. Mm-hmm, all right, so they're about to be introduced to her. I can understand maybe not wanting to tell Miles. You don't really know him at all.
Exactly.
But Charlie, you basically raised Charlie.
Yeah.
So I don't I can understand.
And you would assume that her dad had already kind of told her about it too, because he's the one that originally had it.
You'd think so, but maybe that was like the less you know, the safer you are kind of scenarios.
I could get that. You know, you don't want to tell everybody because then they get, potentially put in harm's way because they potentially know information.
Yeah. At the time that they're talking about if they should tell him or not, that's when Charlie and the gang show up, Charlie, Nora, and Miles.
Yes.
And they introduce them to Nora and whatnot, and Nora definitely does not look thrilled. They're like, this is our army we're going to be fighting with?
Yeah.
Aaron, an overweight Google nerd.
Not to go on too much of a tangent, but the boards are talking about Nora not being too favorable in the fans' eyes.
As far as acting, or just as far as character?
Character, actress. Nobody on the board seems to dig this character.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't had anything. Nothing's happened yet to make me really one way or the other. Because I don't think she's great yet. Yeah. But I don't think she's a bad.
You're just indifferent. Like she's just a supporting.
She's no Nikki and Paulo from Lost yet. You know what I mean? Like she's not making me disgusted. Like why would they even throw her in the show?
Yeah, the boards are talking a lot about how there's so much Lost correlations to this.
I am doing my best to stay away from that because if I dive into this show like I dove head first into Lost, I will drive myself insane.
Yeah,
and I've already seen a few correlations, and I'm thinking that's just more fan fun.
Well,
and I'm not digging into it like I did. Dude, I went into like every book that was ever mentioned on Lost. I researched and read to find out why would they even be talking about this.
Yeah, like what does it have to do with Tom Sawyer?
Yeah. Oh man, good stuff.
But
good stuff.
yeah, that's the thing. Like with these, I think it's just because you obviously see a few actors that were from both shows, and you just automatically think, well, J.J. Abrams. And then you put the two and two together, which is
of course.
an interest. Obviously you don't take much to get to that jump. But I like the intrigue where it's kind of like Lost, but it's not Lost in the sense of, well, it's not Lost 5th season in yet.
Right.
Where there's just so many questions, much things.
It's 4th episode in, so let's give it some time. But okay, going on with the rest of that scene was, as soon as she basically finds that stuff out, then they end up, the seemingly wild dogs, they're taking a walk.
Yep.
And these wild dogs here, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And then he does the dumbest move I ever saw. He throws his torch at them. Isn't that a weapon you just gave away?
Pretty much.
But he throws it at them, and that's where we see that it's a pack of dogs feeding on a carcass of a deer.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty nice. And as soon as he throws it, they're like, what the fuck was that? Now they notice all you guys.
It's wild dogs. They're dingoes.
Dingoes. And then that's run is where we hear, and then goes commercial. Nice, thrilling commercial pause.
Yeah,
then we come back with the dogs chasing them, and they basically hop a fence to escape.
Mm-hmm,
and while they're doing that, Aaron's the last one to come over, and he gets bit by a dog.
Right.
And Maggie's steps up and shoots the dog to basically save Aaron.
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to get over the fence. This dog's on his leg.
She shoots him with a crossbow.
Yes, shoots him with a crossbow.
And then you can kind of tell throughout this episode that I guess she's supposed to be a doctor of some sort.
Well, we knew that from the beginning.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, when she gave Danny the elixir or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's been the nurse / doctor from the beginning.
But I guess she was like, supposedly probably some pretty up there doctor.
I'm only going to base that probably based off she was dressed nice and in Seattle.
Yeah. Like what kind of doctor that's based in London suddenly goes over to Seattle?
Yeah,
but
so
I guess
probably some kind of conference. Who knows? But yeah, I would imagine as well that she's well-to-do with the medical field. She's no dummy.
Right. She's a Dr. Drew.
So the next scene we go to is Captain Tom Neville and his crew going through the woods, heading to Noblesville. When Danny basically says, "You feel the change in the air."
Yeah.
Sir, shit's about to go down. We need to find shelter.
He's like he's like a golden retriiever in the sense
he's like
of,
any other human being that'd be like, shit doesn't smell right.
Right.
Wind just went from being windy and warm to being, okay, now it's like 30 degrees below.
And which is
whatever.
weird because like he's the only one that seems to feel it. Like all the other soldiers and Tom Neville, everybody's all like, what? There's some clouds in the sky. I didn't notice anything.
I agree with that. My only thing would say, I agree with that, is like it seemed kind of bullshit. Like there's 50 people there, and Danny's the only one. Like, hey, it smells weird.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hurricane pretty soon.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a tornado.
My only thing I could say is possibly these guys are all from up north where there aren't tornadoes, or like that's my only thing. But it does seem very suspicious. Like, how long have you guys been in this area? Because you guys are less than an hour from where your destination is.
Yeah, and obviously, you're in a tornado alley or some sort of area where it gets a lot of weather. After these 15 years, you don't think
they're in Indiana.
Which is Midwest.
I mean, would say, yeah, that's like you said, Tornado Alley.
And you would think, like, okay, after 15 years of being in this type of environment where you're, like, post-apocalyptic, you'd almost get into more of a in tune with nature type of thing. Where
but
it's
maybe it's like those guys are adults and Danny's somewhat of a kid, so he grew up without it, so he has that nature instinct.
Right.
And these, I'm making up BS answers. I don't know if any of these
We're trying to give excuses for plot holes.
All right, so we go to the next scene where we see Sebastian is visiting Rachel.
Yes.
And he asks her what did Ben know, why he worked for the Department of Defense, and why would he call Miles 5 minutes before the blackout saying, "Hey, bro, the blackout's going to happen."
Yeah, he's basically the audience in the sense of, we need to find out these questions. I'm going to be that character that asks these questions.
I definitely want to know. Yeah, I want to know those
Every question that he asked, you're like, yeah. Start talking, bitch.
Evening, Rachel. Can't sleep?
I never do sleep very well here. I'm not sure why. What do you want, Beth?
What do I want? Rachel, as if you don't know. As if you don't know what I've always wanted.
We really have to play this game? You've asked me these questions 100 times.
And I'm going to ask you again. What was Ben working on?
Ben was an algebra teacher.
If Ben was an algebra teacher, why was he working for the Department of Defense? And why did he have full SAP clearance? Why, on the night of the blackout, did he call Miles and tell him the power was going out 5 seconds before it did? Ben knew why the lights went out. He didn't know how to turn them back on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Haven't I been a good host to you, Rachel? I mean, I haven't put you in a dungeon. I haven't killed you. That's out of respect to you, to our friendship. Sergeant Strausser.
Mrs. Matheson, my apologies in advance.
Obviously, she says nothing. She holds her tongue.
Yeah.
And then he brings in the interrogator, I guess you'd call, because
Right.
he busts out that list of tools, and you're like, he goes, I want to apologize in advance. You're like, motherfucker, this is not going to be good. If you apologize in advance, we all know shit's going to get real.
And this world definitely has had that notion of, like, torture gets things done.
Here.
Everybody in this has, like, if they need information, suddenly we're going to torture you.
Which is such a bullshit thing. It's
Yeah.
like, if you torture me enough, I will tell you I am Michael Jordan from the Bulls.
I will tell you whatever you want
Yeah,
to hear.
I will tell you anything. Yeah, I'm Hitler. I killed the Jews. Just fucking stop torturing me.
Yeah,
know?
don't pull off any more nails
Yeah,
or whatever.
I mean, so like torture is a bullshit. But anyways, this so they show the tools. That was a nice like dramatic twist. Then we go to the next scene. We come back to Maggie is tending to Aaron's bite, so she's the doctor X,
Right.
like he was saying. And we see that someone is lurking in the darkness. You can see just the way the camera angles, like someone's watching them from far.
Dun, dun, dun.
Miles takes Nora, or Miles and Nora go aside, and they're having a discussion. And he basically says, these guys aren't my responsibility. They're not my responsibility. I'm leaving.
That was a good one. I like that. You pretty much should have auditioned.
All right, sweet. I'm auditioning next week. I'm going to be the new Miles. Call me the Mike Miles.
Yeah, you're like the Darren from Bewitched.
Yeah,
Suddenly-
just switch.
Smitty.
So while he's basically telling Nora that it's not his responsibility to look after these guys, of course Charlie is right behind him listening, so she
Yeah.
hears it all. Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel good. But then we see a flashback for Charlie, which is kind of heartbreaking, where you see Rachel is telling the family that, or she has to leave the family. Ben basically says she's going to look for supplies, which is a
BS.
bullshit answer. Mm-hmm. You could tell it just the way, like, almost when I saw this scene, we find out later on what's going on, but I thought they were breaking up.
Right.
That's what I really thought it was. I'm like, wow, like maybe he's breaking up with her because she killed that guy, saving her for the food. But also, Charlie and them seem a lot older than they did then. Mm-hmm. So we don't really know what's going on. But we
then-
know she's leaving.
You'd have to know as a kid, like, when you say that your mom's leaving for a few months,
That's just it. She also
it
said for a
ain't
few months.
it ain't for food.
Well, you could tell Charlie definitely didn't like few months. What?
Yeah. What do
You
you
mean
doing?
like a couple hours, right? That's searching for supplies.
Trying to get food in California or something? What?
Yeah, so they she definitely does not feel good, and
And she just leaves. Yeah, she just walks away.
she walks away. So then we flash back to where we are now, and the whole gang, Miles, Charlie, all of them, Nora,
Scooby-Doo.
all of them, they end up heading out while we see the creepy guy feeding the dog in the background. So we're like, ooh, these dogs are this guy. This guy is the dog master.
Dog master.
Yeah. So we go to the next scene.
Caesar Milan.
Hell yeah, man. Or the Whisperer, yeah.
Yeah.
We go to next scene is Captain Neville and his group are rushing into a barn to get to shelter from the storm because they actually, I don't know if they listened to Danny or they just got so far to like, shit, he's right. Let's fucking get to some shelter.
After a horse gets like flown into the air,
Yeah.
like, well, maybe we should get some shelter.
Yep. All right, then we go to the next scene where we see Miles, Aaron, Charlie, Maggie, and Nora, the whole gang. They're walking through an abandoned amusement park, which is probably one of the creepiest things you can see.
Which is a cool set design, because I would definitely want to see something like that.
Yeah, it would be
neat. Where
well,
you just have it all overgrown and everything.
You go out on your way, if you live in Southern California area, on the way out to Vegas, there's that abandoned water park.
Right.
And I've never stopped there myself, but just looking outside the road, it looks creepy because it is all overgrown and it's nasty. I think Rob Dyrdek and his gang skateboarded it one time.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty fun.
What a cool / dumb idea.
Yes, exactly.
A water park in the middle of nowhere on the way to Vegas.
I mean, it is in the desert, but it is seriously in the, you have to come hours to get here.
Right. It's
so dumb.
Everybody's thinking yeah, that would be awesome. But then again,
why would I stop? I don't want to stop on my way to Vegas. Let's put the water park in Vegas so I can get there. But anyway, so we, at this amusement park, we see, I put in quotation marks Nate because we don't know what this guy's name is yet, but it's the militia guy that we saw from episode 1 following Charlie.
Right.
Nate is watching over them. Just at the same time, he doesn't notice Miles is sneaking up behind him, and they end up having this. Miles attacks him, and they have this little brawl where they end up capturing Nate, and that's where we find out that Charlie had met him before, had handcuffed him.
Yeah.
And she's like, his name's not Nate. I don't know what his fucking name is, but it's not Nate, so we'll call him not Nate from now on. And they decided to keep him, to question him, so they're going to hold on to him, which I don't know if that's a good idea or not, because Miles was all saying, he's a spy. We don't know how much he told him. So let's hold on to the spy so he finds out more info.
It's going to be an interesting dilemma, because I want to know, what relationship Miles and Nate really have, because
if they have one, because he didn't seem to know who he was.
But is he just playing that off of?
He could, but everyone so far that he has known, he's like, yeah, I know this guy. But
because we can already tell, because it's been told from past episodes that Miles was kind of, in charge of the militia, or not maybe in charge, but at least part of the militia. So maybe he knew him back then, maybe when he was part of the militia, he knew Nate.
It's very possible.
So we don't know.
My only thing is if he knew who Miles was, then why didn't he tell the Jacob? I forget the guy's character, the soldier from last week,
Jeremy.
Why didn't he tell Jeremy that?
Yeah.
Hey, that's Miles. Because when Jeremy came across him, Jeremy was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah.
It was a surprise. So doesn't mean that it doesn't know him, but it does seem like surprise. If Nate was really on the militia side and being a spy, how did Jeremy not know that he was with these guys?
Maybe he's an undercover agent.
But then again, even as a spy, how is he getting information back quickly?
That's true.
I can't call him.
Yeah,
I'm not sending out my. I don't have. Do you see a bag of pigeons on my back?
He's Mike Tyson. He just carries a bunch of pigeons.
Come here, pigeon. I got a message for you. I'm gonna send this to Sebastian.
It's gonna be unconscionable. But I was just maybe he's kind of like a double agent, where he's only infiltrating or only being a part of the militia, kind of like Nora was, where she's trying to kind of get into the fold so she can later take it down from the inside.
Maybe.
So maybe Nate's kind of doing the same thing, where he's trying to kind of join up as the militia just to really take it down later.
That would be cool. We'll have to see where it goes from there.
It would be nice.
But we go on to the next scene, and we see Maggie, who is it's a flashback, and she's trying to find a ship to England.
Yes.
She walks. She's at a port or at the shore,
some sort of dock.
Yeah, talking to a gentleman, and he basically tells her that all the tall ships or engine or boats that could make it across, or steamships, were all scrapped for metal, or the militia took them. So any boat that can get to England is not going to be yours for the taking.
Yeah, he basically told her to go pound sand, and
you're screwed.
And he did it, kind of not in the greatest of ways, but he also, he's not going to candy coat it.
Well, I was going to say, he did at the same time. He doesn't know, oh, this is a bitch who left her kids at home and is trying to get back to her babies. He just sees some homely woman hey, where the fuck are the boats? I was told there's boats here. Bitch, there ain't no boats here. How dumb are you?
Yeah. And then he, after he says a bunch of shit like that totally deflates her balloon. I like how at the end he kind of goes, well, maybe someday.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I know I just killed your dream, but I just realized that I killed your dream, so I'm going to try to, like, resurrect it, but
by the way, you're like the first girl I've seen in months. Do you want to have some nookie?
Yeah. I can understand, like, anytime, like, people, like, cross paths now, it has to be the, hey, you want to hook up?
Yeah, you're a chick. I don't want to hurt you, but I want to poke you.
I just... I'd have that sign just around my neck. It will not hurt you, but I will poke you.
We'll poke to not kill you.
We'll poke for food.
We'll poke for your safety. All right, so we go to the next scene where we see Danny is attempting to escape during the storm. And he uses a horse as a distraction. He slaps the horse on the ass, get all riled up.
Here's my thing, too. I just want to bring up. If they're only like a days away from each other, which is off, if it's on foot, what, 20 miles? Maybe?
It could be 20 to 40 miles, I'd say, at tops.
If Danny's involved with a hurricane or some sort of tornado or whatever, how come it's not being seen at all where Miles and Charlie and everybody else is hanging out that's tailing after him? Like,
that's only a day behind, huh?
Yeah, like...
You know what? That is a good point I never even thought about.
Like, you would think that the storm would be kind of bigger than a day's trip or whatever. Or if they're less than a day's trip, you would think that they'd be kind of in the same vicinity as this storm.
But then again, and I don't know for sure because I've never dealt with it.
I'm not trying to say epicenter or whatever.
But let's just say, like, let's say Miles and them are legitimately a day, 24 hours away from them, which is probably could be 20 to 40 miles.
Right. If you take the Southern California terrain where you say, like, okay, Miles and them are in Orange County and Danny and them are in L.A.
Yeah.
Don't you think L.A. and Orange County would be seeing the same storm?
No. Now, that's a good point, though, because that was going to be my question is, like, okay, Orange County to Long Beach is where I live, right? You live in Orange County. It's about 25 miles, about the distance you would think is a day's walk. We had water spouts here in 2004 or 5,
right?
That were on the shore, right? Obviously, altitude. You couldn't see those from Orange County,
right?
You know, obviously that has no equivalent to an actual tornado,
exactly.
But
yeah.
You know, distance depending on if there's a mountain range in between them, tall trees, may be hard to notice. But I would be with you where you're like, I would think the weather would at least be like, yeah, shit's kind of weird up there.
Yeah, or you could at least see off in the distance, like, hey, there's a tornado over there.
Yeah, but you know, like even like from your house to Disneyland, obviously not like tornado, but visually, you can't see that far.
Not from the ground.
Even from the sky, you probably have a vision of 10 miles.
Yeah.
Depending, well, you know what? Back then, we're giving this a little because you got to think air quality then. Got to be amazing.
Oh yeah.
So skies are clear, so you probably could see a whole lot farther.
Yeah, I'm saying like from Big Bear, you could probably see. You could probably see the coast. I mean, you already can see the coast from Big Bear.
Well, from here we could see. I mean, from the coast here, you can see Catalina, and that's 26 miles of ocean. So I mean, you can see that far on a clear day. So you could probably see farther. So
and I mean, I've been in the Midwest where. You know, I've been driving on a freeway, and yeah, like 30 or 40 miles in the horizon, you can see a full-on, thunderstorm with thunder and lightning, and you could totally tell that it's raining and everything. But obviously, it's not affecting you because you're, it's like all clear skies right now. But you could see off in the distance, like, hey, there is some shit going on.
But then again, Charlie and them spend most of their time in that restaurant.
That's true.
All right. Let's go on with the show. We got a little sidetrack.
It's a little weird.
That's a good point, though. That's a very valid, that's an interesting question.
I was just thinking, how come they're not infected? But wait.
Tacos. All right, so we're on that. Danny is escaping, and he gets tackled. He's out in the field, and he gets tackled by Neville of all people. You think, are no other soldiers watching what the fuck's going on?
Apparently not.
But Neville tackles him. And fights him for a little bit, and then they see the tornado, so they dive into the closest cellar.
Yeah, the cellar that's in the house that they're boarding up their horses or whatever.
So it's just the two of them under there. It's a little weird. But then we cut to another scene of the gang, and Maggie is telling Miles how she tried for years to get back to her kids. And she went from Seattle to the coast and up and down the coast, and basically came to the point where she's like, "There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pour this cup of poison."
She basically lost hope.
Yeah, she lost all her hope. She's gonna go. She says she's pouring herself a cup of poison, and she's gonna sit by a really pretty lake and basically just kill herself. And at just that time is when Ben comes by. And basically just says, "Hey, I was just going to get some water," and notices that she looks a little more distressed than the normal, the average person. It was a really sweet scene. It shows Ben has a heart.
And as he was telling her, or as she was telling Miles too, you could totally tell that Miles knew exactly what she was explaining. Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, he is a good fucking guy. Damn
it. I know what my brother is. My brother is a mensch.
Yeah, so Maggie just basically says, like, if Ben never came by and took me to his family and just showed me kindness, I would have killed myself, and he saved my life. He gave me love, and that was awesome. So it was a really good story. But then they start to leave, and they get stopped by those dogs.
Yes,
and
the dogs are a huge thing in this episode.
This is the plague dogs, man. So they get chased into the restaurant where they think they're safe, but then all of a sudden they look back and Maggie is gone.
Yep.
And we find out that Maggie was taken by the dog master, the dog whisperer.
Yeah, Caesar Milan. And
he basically just straight up stabs her, like he's trying to get away, but he stabs her in the leg and then runs away because he's real man-like. He tells her it's because she killed his dog. It's like, oh, bitch, did you not see he was biting my dude? But
yeah. Do you understand that I was trying to defend myself?
Yeah. So, he cut that artery, so it's pretty messed up. It's a serious injury.
She gets a pretty deep wound into the leg.
So we cut to the next scene where we see Captain Neville and with Danny in the cellar again.
Yep.
And Neville is telling Danny that he has a son and that him and Ben are not that far off. They both have sons, and they really just want the best kind of future for their son that they can give him. And then Danny says that nice little line like, "Yeah, well, my dad didn't just kill people to give me that good future."
Yeah, my dad's not a douche like you, though.
Yeah. And then that's where Neville kind of says, like, if your dad made it through... I don't know if he really says that just now, but he's basically like, if your dad made it through all the shit that we went through after the blackout, people robbing and killing and pillaging, and he's still a kind-hearted guy, he is absolutely a better man than I am. I'm like, I gotta give it to you. Like, I'd like to think that I would be that upper hand guy, but after that many years of people killing friends and family for your food, and
totally,
that could wear and tear on your heart. I can see that.
Survival instinct is definitely not the same type of mindset as when you're just living in a normal society where there's laws and rules and morals,
or even like a world of abundance. Like if we all have it, then we don't need to kill it, but there's not that abundance now.
When there's scarcity involved and it's either I'm gonna eat or this guy's gonna eat, I'm gonna eat. Sorry.
It's crazy.
Survival of the fittest.
Absolutely. So then we go to the next scene where we see Miles and Nora are heading out to find the dog owner. Basically, they're leaving the restaurant. They're going to hunt for this guy to call off his mutts. Maggie tries to tell Charlie and them, go, just leave. Don't wait for me.
Yeah,
I'm a lost cause. Leave me.
Yeah, and Aaron's basically left to kind of tend to the wound.
Yeah, but that's where Charlie has a nice little moment with Maggie too, where she tells her, "No, you were there for me. I know it wasn't easy. You were there for me through the good times, the bad times, and you were annoying at times, but you were there.
Yeah.
You were with me." And
which makes it seem like kind of odd, because I was thinking to myself, like, during the pilot, they were talking about, like, she was always upset, like, as soon as mom leaves, now you kind of step in, which made it think, like, this is pretty fresh, like...
But when we look at the
like pretty soon or pretty recently.
But you look at the flashback, you see Charlie was a lot younger, so it wasn't. Yeah. It was probably a good at least 7 years.
So then I think to myself, like, okay, you're having this type of animosity towards Maggie in the beginning when it's been like 7 or 8 years since your like mom's been gone. Like,
well, I don't know either, but maybe she's been around the family for 7 years, but maybe
sexual or
I would say maybe the lady just came in like the last year, or maybe her and Ben just got connected the last year or two, and then she was like, well, we're connected, so I'm your mom. Like, bitch, no, you ain't my mom. Yeah. Like, maybe. I don't know.
6 years ago, or for the last 6 years, you were just kind of this chick that was with us, but now you're, like, involved with my dad for this last year, and that's where it's, like, kind of drawing the line.
I'm just trying to make excuses as to why this show might work.
Because I was thinking, like, wait a minute, you're pissed off at her kind of stepping in and being the mom role, but now 2 episodes later, you're like, no, you're my only mom.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I don't care what. If the girl's dying, I'm not going to be like, no, fuck you. Yeah, you were my mom. I think I'd like to at
you
least...
ain't my mom. I don't care about that stab wound. You ain't my
you're
mom.
My mom. Go ahead and die. Like, I don't think that would have been a lot shittier.
I would have seen Charlie go like, what? Why'd you die already?
All right. So we go to the next scene where we see that tornado that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And it finally comes to an end. And Captain Neville basically goes, oh, man! And then the cave crumbles in on him.
Yeah.
So God may have been giving you a message right there.
Yeah.
So Neville's trapped in a cave-in, or in a roof-in, I guess you call it. Then we go back on to Maggie, who's instructing Charlie how to sew her up. She's got to sew up her artery because that shit ain't gonna heal itself.
Which would suck.
It would suck for both parties. I wouldn't want to sew up an artery.
Yeah, I don't.
And I don't want you to touch my artery. That shit hurts.
And nobody has Purell anywhere.
No Purell, and I don't think that's enough whiskey to make me feel a little numb.
No more. Yeah, you couldn't tell me to just bite on this.
Yeah, fuck that. So Charlie she runs over to Miles' bag where Maggie says she thought she saw some whiskey to help her sterilize all the gear that they're going to have to use.
Right.
And while Charlie is looking for that stuff, she gets grabbed by the dog master.
Caesar
dun,
Milan.
Dun, dun. Go to commercial. All right. Then we come back from commercial and we see Miles and Nora get back, and Nate basically gives him the rundown like, dude's got multiple knives. He's a big motherfucker. She looked okay when she left.
Yeah.
So, like, gave her the rundown. And then Nate pulls out his machete and goes, Miles pulls out his machete and goes, let's knock Nate free. So Nate and Miles are going to go try and save Charlie, while Aaron and Nora volunteers to stay after and help with Maggie. All right. So the very next scene, we got Captain Neville, who is buried in the roof-in, and Danny has a choice.
Yeah,
he gives him a choice. He's there, and Neville does this whole story about like, hey, if your dad's as good as you say he is, what would he do right now? Yeah, he dupes him, and then Danny, being a fucking human being, saves the guy's life. Which personally, I have to say, like, I know your whole objective to take me to Noblesville is for me to die.
Yeah.
So like I think Danny was dumb in this situation, but I wouldn't have killed him, but I would have walked away.
Yeah, he lets his moral fortitude or whatever take the better of him.
He's a better man than I, because I don't know if I could have walked away from that, or I could have helped him.
But it is like one of those classic like villain where you want to like go like, haven't you seen any type of like action movie? You can't.
He's gonna say whatever he needs to say right now.
Yeah,
right now. He is the guy caught in a roof-in. He is the Mitt Romney. He is gonna say whatever he needs to say to get. No, come on.
To get
I thought
I'd
at least get at least a chuckle.
Yeah, everybody just tuned out.
Like, oh, fuck this!
Oh, what?
Revolution is a Republican show.
He made fun of Mitt Romney.
It's not on PBS. You guys should be okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. Way off topic, but yeah. So he's definitely
in that moral but it's
conundrum.
That's the thing. Like with Neville, it's like he has really no alternate course. It's like either he dies or he tries to convince this guy to save him. But ultimately, he's not
he goes
just,
back to being the bad guy. Yeah,
he has a role. It's not like he's going to suddenly go, "Well, thanks for saving me. Take off."
Yeah,
no, he's still going to go. Well, if I don't bring this guy back, I'm going to die.
Yeah. He doesn't think about it. Yeah, it's a conundrum for both of them, but it worked out where So Danny frees
And
Neville.
It's just human nature to
Yeah.
tell everybody whatever they want to hear.
Yeah. So Captain Neville or Danny frees Neville, and then almost instantaneously Neville attacks Danny and recaptures him. And you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, and basically tells him, "You shouldn't have done that, you dumbass."
Yeah. So then we go to the next scene where we see the dog man has Charlie captive in this. Was it a big restaurant or something?
Yeah.
It was a large room, and he tells her the story of I had a daughter, and we did the smart thing, and we stocked up food, we stocked up medicine, we stocked up everything except for guns.
It's kind of like a bunker because he definitely says
But it's at the
you're
amusement
home,
park.
and she's like, "Really? Because this doesn't really look that cool."
Yeah,
And he goes "Why? It's not that cool. I love this place."
you don't like serial killer dwellings?
Yeah, you don't like little pits.
Yeah. So basically, he tells us this really sad story where, the Marauders didn't kill her, but basically they did kill her because they took all our shit, and then she stepped on a simple nail and got tetanus. And her jaw got locked. She couldn't drink anything, couldn't eat anything. Basically died right in front of her, which would be fucking
Horrible.
awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Slow death is
Of
always
your own kid, though. I mean, it's bad to see anybody
Knowing
go that
that
way,
you
but
can't do
that's my
shit.
flesh and blood, and I can't do anything to help him right now.
Yeah,
That fucking sucks.
All I needed was one little shot, and it would have been
and it
cool.
would have been done.
Yeah.
So I can see why that would drive a man insane. You motherfuckers stole my medicine. All I needed was one drop, and that would have saved her. But you motherfuckers had to go and steal everything. So yeah, no wonder why this guy's a little crazy.
Changes a man, of
All right.
course.
So we see the dogman is setting up this extravagant trap where the arrow is set to shoot at Charlie's face.
Yeah.
When anybody comes through the door. So if you turn the door, it pulls this rope and it pulls the trigger, and Charlie's a goner.
Yeah, it's like a booby trap. It's
Totally
almost
is a
like
booby
like something Data would set up from the Goonies.
If Data was a mass murderer, yeah, totally. If he was a serial killer, Joker
He was an
style,
old white guy.
yeah, absolutely. But so the dogman sets up the trap, and then I don't know where he's heading off to, or does he hear Miles out in the side?
I don't believe
Something draws him outside,
Yeah.
and he ends up getting into a fight with Miles, and him. They fight outside, and Miles ends up getting the better hand and kills the dog guy.
Right.
Kills the motherfucker. And then the man trap is set up, like I said, if anybody opens the door, it will trigger the arrow. So we go to commercial with don't go, she's got the tape over her mouth so she can't tell, but she's screaming, and they're like, "Where are you?" They're like, "Don't come through that door if you're gonna save me."
Yeah.
All right, so we go to commercial, come back to commercial, and Charlie is wiggling her ass in that chair, which is bolted to the ground, and she wiggles just enough that when Nate finally comes through the door and opens the doorknob, not Nate, opens the doorknob, the arrow goes right by her head.
Yeah.
Right by her head. So real close call, real awesome scene. Then we go to the next scene where we see Maggie. She says that she has lost too much blood, or this is where they save her, and they Miles, not Nate, and Charlie get back to the restaurant with Maggie and the rest of them.
Right, and Aaron's there.
And Maggie gets back there, and she's all like, "You're back, you're safe." "Yeah, I'm safe." And she basically says, I lost too much blood, and it doesn't look good. And so she wants her phone. So Aaron gives her phone, and she kind of has this flashback / dream, because it didn't look like it was a real thing that happened. It was more of a fantasy thing of her with her kids at that age.
Right.
So she basically is going out at this time.
She's loopy.
She's having that. Hopefully, this is what my afterlife is really full of, is love and joy and all that stuff. And it's a real sad scene. And yeah, so she
kicks it.
She's thinking of kids, but Charlie's obviously having a hard time. "Don't leave, grind."
Right, and Aaron's all like, "What? I sewed you up. You should be cool." And
So
she's like, "No, you did a shitty job."
"Did my job." "Yeah, you did your job, but I'm still dead." But then Charlie has that one line that, even for me, I was like, "Oh, that fucking stings." So she's like, "Don't leave. Everybody leaves me."
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
Shit, that sucks, because have lost family, it does feel like that. You're like, when you lose more than one family member, you're like, All right. I can't lose that many more people.
Yeah.
I need somebody, please.
And then as soon as you start to put your heart and other things into a relationship, suddenly it just leaves again.
Gone.
And you're like, well, that kind of shapes somebody.
Yeah,
it kind of
it
shapes
sucks.
them into a harder, like, well, I'm not going to give my heart out that much.
But then I think Miles, hopefully he wasn't just, BSing for the moment, but he's basically says, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Which I hope he means it because
because early in an episode
she can't handle it.
He kept trying to talk to Nora about saying like, "Hey, I'm taking off.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't want to do this anymore."
Which I think once you realize that this is family and she's having obviously a tough time, it tears you. Like, this is my brother who I really respect's daughter.
Yep, it's my niece.
I gotta have love for her. All right, so then we go to the final scene of the episode, which is really good, where we see Sebastian walking into Rachel's room.
Yes,
and he basically starts politely berating her. I guess like he's talking in a nice tone, but he's saying like, how could you be a mom and leave your kids like that? You don't love your kids. And
well, you basically gave her no choice, you dumbass.
Yeah. So he basically says that, hey, you say you don't love your kids, you don't care about your kids. Well, we're going to find out real soon because we have Danny. He's going to come here soon. And we're going to rip his molars out and see how much you don't care.
Yeah.
Which to me sounds like fucking awful. I had my wisdom teeth pulled not that long ago.
Oh, hell yeah.
And the pain of the wisdom tooth before it's pulled, like, is phenomenal.
Anything with
just
your
imagine
teeth
that, like,
sucks
and
balls.
that's just sitting in there. Imagine them ripping it out. Like,
with no anesthesia.
My
nothing.
God.
Yeah, just...
That's in your face. That's in your head.
Yeah.
That's a type of pain that you just can't escape. You know, it's crazy.
And again, Sebastian's all about the torture. He likes to
no shit.
just make people submit to somehow.
So, and then the very last scene is the flashback with where Rachel's leaving the family.
Right.
And then we see her leaving the family, and we see her almost breaking down into tears while she's walking away, where it looked like she was walking away kind of cold and callous. From her point of view, when you see her face, she is bawling.
Yeah.
She's having you could tell it's not an easy decision for her.
But she seems like she still has a little bit of a smile for some reason.
I didn't see that at all.
That actress, I don't know what
That
it
actress,
is.
well,
she always is smiling for some reason.
You're seeing Juliet just like I do, where you're like, she is really with Jack. She's not with Ben.
Yeah.
You know, like, so she's playing you, Ben. No, she's playing you, Jack. No, I totally get what you mean. Where like she just has that look, but I don't think
like half a smile.
I didn't see it as a smile, as more as like I just saw it as like I saw sadness is what I saw. But it may have been a smile. Who knows with this show? We'll have to wait to see. But then we see that she actually is turning herself over to the militia.
Yes.
And not just anybody in the militia, but she's turning herself straight over to Miles in the militia.
And you'd have to assume that, like, you know, maybe now the logo isn't an M for, you know,
Monroe. It might be for Miles.
Matheson.
Or Madison. That's right.
So he's Miles Matheson.
That's a great...
Maybe he was the leader for some point, but then said, you know what? Fuck this.
I like the way you think, sir.
So you don't know. Like, you don't know.
But the last thing she basically says was like, just promise me that I'll see my kids again.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if... I don't know what the scenario would be where, like, why would she go away without Ben, like, and the kids? Basically, is she trying to say they're dead?
Why does she get this intel? Or, like,
how does she
even know to go to Miles Matheson and say, you know what?
Or maybe
I'm giving myself up.
Or maybe this is Miles' way of saving Ben by saying, hey, we need somebody.
Or maybe it's like, what's her face? Rachel's way of saying, like, I'll turn myself in. Don't hurt my family or whatever.
I'm with you. That left you with almost more questions where you're like, what's going on? So it was definitely a conundrum there. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But it was a really good episode. I think this show, each episode just is getting better and better.
It is getting better and better. And I'm glad that they picked it up for a second season because there's only 2 more episodes left of this first season. So you're going to get, hopefully, a couple of questions answered, but also being, you know, left with some new questions.
The only problem with that is like, okay, this first season, 6 episodes, it's felt good. It's like it's almost an intensity to each episode. If you stretch that out to 13 or 24, like the normal television series, is it going to make it too long?
Right, because if it is like a 24 episode series, which is hard because a lot of 1 hour dramas
is the biggest thing now.
Yeah, it's kind of in that 13 to 16 range because you can't have a story last that long, especially one arc of a season.
Yeah.
Plus, if it's an hour show, that gets into like, you're really spending 2 episodes for every, 1 episode that you're really doing. But on the other hand, it's like, I'm left with, the season finale of this first season is probably going to be a really big season finale. But it's also going to be a season finale in the sense of it's going to leave you with 20 more questions that are going to leave you wanting to see season 2.
Which, personally, I love shows like this.
Right.
I love shows that make me go, what? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Who is it? Who is that? Why
I need
is
to
he
make
there?
a podcast about this.
Let's talk about this on the air. Speaking of which, thank you guys for tuning. Do you have anything else you want to add? I think that wraps it up.
No,
we didn't get any comments and concerns for last week.
We have not, but I again read the boards a few times. The boards are talking about a lot of really trivial things. It's like what I'm seeing from the boards is not a lot of like, what's going on with this character? How come this character is doing this? Or how come this plot hole has been emerged? No, it's all these like arbitrary,
like,
how come no nuclear power plants are around? And how come this isn't around? And you're
when
like,
all the lights went out in Seattle, there was one light that lasted 2 seconds longer than the rest.
Yeah.
That is bullshit.
why is that light lasted longer? And you're like, dude, this is not about a story about one light lasting
The sad
longer.
thing to me is like, that's probably somebody we need to go talk to.
Right?
Find out whose house
That might be a secret character.
We need to go find out.
He has a power pendant. No, but like all this, like this guy on one of the NBC forums, like went into like, seriously, like the amount of text that he used would be like a small like report or a small book.
He did an essay on it.
Yeah, about how like, why aren't we using, like, why aren't there nuclear power plants? Or why aren't there this? Why aren't there that? And it's like, dude, if we wanted to know what exactly would happen in a post-apocalyptic, non-electricity world, we would go into that. Like, this isn't a story about, like, the technical aspects of, like, every little minutia, like, what happened to the CDC or what happened to the FDA. It's like, who gives a shit about the FDA?
But see, my whole thing is like, okay, you have a legitimate question. Was like, okay, what happened to nuclear power? No, I'm with you. But like, okay, the power went out. It's been 15 years.
Yeah,
shit's happened. We haven't figured out yet.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah, and it also does like. Maybe that's why they put it in Chicago, because there's probably not a lot of nuclear power plants near Chicago. Like, yeah, if this story took place 10 miles away from San Onofre,
yeah,
we would maybe worry about what's going on with the power plant.
I think I'd be fucking terrified to live near a power plant when power went out.
Right, exactly.
Like, what's keeping that shit cool? What's making that pump cold water into that nuclear fusion reactor to make sure it doesn't overheat and kill us all?
And
I would be scared of that. Yeah. I bet you probably more nuclear reactions went off. Like,
here's the answer. No, nobody's doing anything with them.
Yeah, nothing.
And that area is a radioactive hotspot.
Yeah.
We're not going to California
you ever heard of
anymore.
Chernobyl?
Yeah, exactly.
There's like 20 of those now.
You ever hear of 3 Mile Island? There's 80 million of those now. And yeah, maybe, okay, if you want to look at it in a super scientific world,
which I don't.
I'm sure, yeah, those nuclear power plants would have a lot more effect on this world than what we're lurking about. But in the end, this is a fucking TV show.
Yeah.
And we're worried about these types of relationships. We're worried about, like, you know, is this person going to find their family again? We're not worried about, are they going to turn on the nuclear power plants anymore?
In that guy's essay, like, was the first half about nuclear power plants, and then the second half was like, how do they get their blues so blues on their t-shirt? Yeah. That is impossible.
Yeah, half of it was like, how come nobody is wearing dirty clothes? And you're like, dude, it's a fucking TV show. When they talk about the homely chick on 2.5 Men, that homely chick is still, in reality, an 8.
Exactly.
It's a fucking TV show. Like,
Take it with a grain of salt, you dummy.
Exactly. Like, if we wanted to worry about, like, what happened to every single government department and what happened to the government at all, like, okay, I can understand you wanting to know a little bit, like, okay, what happened to the president?
Right.
What happened to the cabinet? I get that.
And I'm sure that's the type of what we're not looking at on the world aspect. We're looking at just this small family,
right?
And what they're dealing with,
right?
So we don't know what the world's like.
Yeah. If we wanted to know about that, like, I'm sure there'd be a different TV show out there
that was
would
lovely,
tell
by the way.
you,
Thanks for that.
like we talked about before, like, if you want to know about, like, post-apocalyptic scenarios, like, watch the History Channel. Watch, like, the Discovery Channel when they talk about, like, here's what would happen in a scenario like nuclear holocaust or whatever.
Exactly. Like, but this is not the show for that. But
yeah, drama. We're trying to watch just some personal stories.
So thank you guys. If you guys have any like comments about the show, anything you like, if you have complaints about the nuclear reaction, we'd love to hear it on either our YouTube. We have a YouTube that we have the
yes, definitely
the
leave
show
comments
on.
There.
Or you can leave it on the Smitty and D show. I'm sorry, say that again. At the Revolution Podcast. Was it Revolution Podcast?
Just Revolution Podcast at yahoo.com, or you can leave comments at revolutionpodcast.podbean.com, which is our Revolution website.
Cool.
And you can also obviously leave comments at 626-SUCK-IT-5, which is our phone call service.
Which is 626-782-5485. That's 626-782-5485.
Or we have a thread now on the Revolution NBC forum. So if you go to NBC.com, click on the forums, which is directed at the Revolution, and you can go to our thread and leave comments there.
Awesome. That's a good way to do it, too. So you guys have plenty of ways to leave comments, concerns, anything you want to join. We would love to hear it. Please do. And anything else I'm missing?
No, just check us out. Every week we're going to be tuning in, watching the show, definitely giving our opinions, but we want your feedback. We're getting a lot of responses on YouTube, so we already have, like 1,000 hits on the first episode.
Yeah, so hopefully, maybe that means nobody liked it. So 1,000 hits. But if you guys did, please hit us up until next Wednesday is probably when you'll get this.
Yeah, for sure.
Be good revolutionaries. We'll see you all next week.
Take it easy.